Okay, so we have a major spoiler for next week's night 2 of the NXT Great American Bash. Next week we have the match that everyone is really talking about from the Great American Bash. We have the winner-take-all main event between NXT champion Adam Cole and Keith Lee, the NXT North American Championship, where at the end of the match we will have either Adam Cole and Keith Lee as both the NXT champion and the NXT North American champion. Now, due to the ongoing pandemic era that we're currently living through right now, WWE is taping multiple shows at one time. So, for instance, today, as of recording right now, they're taping 2 weeks of Raw prior to Extreme Rules. They're taping multiple episodes of SmackDown, etc., etc., and NXT is no different. NXT is taping, or has taped, the second episode, night 2 of the Great American Bash. They taped it last night after the first episode of the Great American Bash went off the air. They taped night 2. Now, obviously, a problem with that, especially in the modern era and the modern day of social media and all of that stuff and leaks coming out of the Performance Center, when you pre-record anything, spoilers tend to get out. Although this hasn't really been an issue so much in the pandemic era because previously, of course, they had no fans or no Performance Center recruits as the audience for the show, so nobody is releasing or leaking any information there. But after that, even when we did have an audience, it was NXT Performance Center recruits or NXT superstars, so you would like to think that nobody was going to leak information or spoil results for an upcoming episode, but that is not the case because a talent from NXT and NXT superstars has taken to social media to share a photo of the result scheduled for next week. Yes, they have spoiled the outcome of the winner-take-all match between Adam Cole and Keith Lee. Now, before we go into this, and I was in two minds whether to make this video or not, but I want to talk about more the ramifications of why they've done this, what's going to happen because of what they've done here, as opposed to the outcome here. But of course, I have to talk about the outcome here. So, major NXT spoiler here for next week's outcome of the Great American Bash Night 2. Needless to say, if you don't want to know any of the spoilers or anything like that, you can stop viewing here. I won't take it personally. So we'll give you a few seconds here to click off the video or whatever. We'll give you about 5 seconds starting now. So, following last night's episode of NXT, one half of Indus Sher, Surav Gujar, am I pronouncing that correctly, took to Instagram to share a photo of the result of the Adam Cole vs. Keith Lee winner-take-all match, the winner becoming both the NXT champion and the NXT North American champion, which of course is scheduled for next week despite being taped last night. Now, obviously, I'm not going to share the photo here, or the screenshot here, but it's out there. If you really want to go out and find it, it's on social media. It's not difficult to find. Gary Cassidy at Sports Takeda has already written a story about it, so it's out there. Gurjar actually spoiled the outcome of the match as he put a post on his Instagram story that shows, spoiler warning again, last chance to get out, Keith Lee standing tall in the middle of the ring while pyro and confetti explode around him as he holds both the NXT North American and NXT Championship up in the air. So it would appear that the person that took all, the winner that took all, was indeed Keith Lee. He is Keith Lee, 2 bouts. He is champ. He is the one to end Adam Cole's record-breaking NXT Championship reign. I'm not going to talk too much about the outcome. We'll save that for next week when it airs because I don't want to delve in too much into that one. Now, the screenshot has been deleted from Sora's Instagram story. However, I just see this and I just think people like Triple H and the higher-ups and the executives in NXT, they must just be absolutely ripping, well, I was going to say ripping their hair out. They don't have any hair. Between Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg and Triple H, they don't have any hair left, do they? But they must just be, furious. Who in the right mind, why on earth would you post that? Why on earth would you post that? To me, and again, I'm not going to call for people to lose their jobs, especially in the pandemic era that we're living in at the moment, but to me, that would be a fireable offence. That is enough for you to lose your job. Arguably the biggest match in NXT history, arguably the biggest match, certainly I would say the biggest NXT match this year. It's got to be. It's got to be the biggest NXT match of the year. And this is a year in which we had an NXT match at WrestleMania. But it's got to be the biggest match, NXT match of this year. We're going to have a champ crown for the first time in NXT history. We're going to have a winner-take-all match for the first time in NXT history. They've built this up for weeks and weeks and weeks. And the result is spoiled. Man, I mean, why would you post it? Why? Why would you do that? This is the modern day culture that we're living in now, where everything has to be posted on social media. It's the Instagram culture, isn't it? It's the Instagram generation. Everything has to be put on Twitter and has to be put on Instagram because they have to get there first and they have to get the likes and they have to be shown that they're in the know. If I'm Triple H, probably goes higher than that. If I'm Vince McMahon, I am livid. I am livid about this. How often have we spoken about on this channel alone, but we've seen reports on social media, on wrestling websites, on wrestling news websites that Vince McMahon isn't happy that NXT is continually losing to AEW in the ratings in the Wednesday Night Wars. It's absolutely a war. I don't care what people say. People say, oh, it's not a war. You know, you can enjoy both. You can absolutely enjoy both, but it's a war. MJF said it in his promo last night on Fyter Fest. We're in a ratings war. That's what it is. And people will say, oh, ratings don't matter in 2020. Well, tell that to advertisers because they absolutely do. Tell that to Vince McMahon because they absolutely do. And I just think, I mean, we don't know the ratings at the moment as of the time of recording for this, for the Great American Bash last night and for Fyter Fest. We just don't know. So I don't know who came out on top. I don't know if Fyter Fest won. I don't know if the Great American Bash won. It's going to be very close. But I would have speculated that coming in next week, NXT, it would have been a very, very, very safe bet that NXT would have come out on top next week in the ratings war, because you just you line up the shows against each other now. While they, AEW will have Chris Jericho competing, have FTR, Young Bucks, etc. competing next week. When you have a match where you crown the first ever NXT champion and North American champion, champ winner take all match in NXT history, it's gonna win. You just look at last week, the NXT North American Championship triple threat match beat AEW because it had stakes, it was a big match, and because it was the lead-in to this winner take all match. They convincingly beat AEW last week, and I think they would have done it again next week because you've got the winner take all match. There's so much stakes there. It's historic. It's going to be a big moment. It's massive, isn't it? It's just a massive match. So I think it would have easily beaten AEW next week. But now that people know the outcome, I still think NXT will come out on top next week in terms of the ratings, but I do think this does damage them. I really do. Now, some people are going to be saying, well, when WCW, right, in the Monday Night Wars, they told people that Mankind, Mick Foley, was going to become the WWE champion, and it actually moved a lot of people over because they wanted to see the title change. That's very true. That is very true, and it's a very good point. It's a good point, and people might say, well, because we know now that Keith Lee is going to become the NXT champion and the NXT North American champion next week, maybe we watch NXT because we know what's going to happen, but some people will be turned off because of it. Oh, well, I already know what's going to happen, right? If you watch any TV show and you know the outcome, you'll watch the other TV show where you don't know the outcome. Now, obviously, AEW doesn't have the AEW World Championship match next week. The originally scheduled Brian Cage versus Jon Moxley match has actually been moved to the week after that to a Fight for the Fallen match on July 15th. Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage, due to the COVID issues he's currently having with his wife Renee Young. Jon Moxley, of course, hasn't tested positive yet. He's taken 2 tests. He'll take another one. But AEW's erring on the side of precaution and putting precautions in place, erring with caution, which is absolutely the correct thing to do. So I commend them for doing that. It's the right thing to do. But again, it would just, as soon as I saw that last night, I thought, wow, if there was any doubt that NXT was going to win next week, they're definitely going to win now. They're not even going up against a World Championship match from AEW. We're going to have a historic match. We're going to crown the first ever champ. It's a massive moment. It's a massive moment, and it's been slightly tainted. It absolutely has. It absolutely has, because almost the counter argument to the Mick Foley comparison there by saying, "Oh, we were told the title switch was going to happen, and it made more people switch over." We knew that a title switch was going to happen anyway. We just didn't know which way it was going to go. We knew that either Adam Cole was going to win the NXT North American Championship, or we knew that Keith Lee was going to win the NXT Championship. A title switch was happening regardless. So that argument, I suppose, with Mick Foley, I mean, it's true, but it's not true. Because the point, I think, the reason why people switched over in the 90s was because they knew the title switch was going to happen. We knew the title switch was going to happen anyway here. And while people may switch over for the moment, we were going to get the moment regardless. And I think this does hurt NXT. Now, I still do think that NXT will win here next week, and I still do think they'll come out on top in the ratings, but it hurts. It absolutely hurts. And you would think that with WWE taping in the Performance Center environment, having their own employees surrounding the ring and having just their own employees in that building, they would be safe, not from leaks, because leaks happen all the time. You know, there are people that are disgruntled. There are people that aren't happy. Journalists have their sources. That's how that works. Leaks happen. But out-and-out spoilers from talent posting the result on their social media, posting images on their Instagram stories is just... It really isn't good enough. It really isn't good enough. Obviously, someone's had a word with him because he's taking it down anyway, but it's too late. The cat's out of the bag. People know the result, and it hurts NXT. It absolutely hurts NXT. And people will look. And look, I cover professional wrestling. It's my job to look. I couldn't really avoid things, and I think, as I mentioned, I'm not going to talk about really the ramifications of the winner and Keith Lee winning, because I think that's for a later point, and I'd like to talk about that next week. But in terms of the ramifications of just the result being leaked itself, it's massive. It's absolutely massive, and it's a massive blow to NXT. I really do think it's a massive blow for NXT, and Triple H, as I mentioned, must be absolutely incredulous. Whatever chance that tag team had of getting over, they were getting a push prior, and it kind of got pulled because, by all accounts, the higher ups in NXT felt they weren't ready. They were going to be the ones to take the titles off of Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher, and then again it was pulled because they thought, I'm not sure if this tag team's ready. And instead that went to Imperium. That role went to Imperium. But they came back recently, Malcolm Bivens, of course, as their manager. But any chance they had of succeeding now, any chance they had of getting over or getting a push in NXT, that is just absolutely disappeared, like Thanos has just snapped it away. Because it's just not happening now. It's just not happening now because, as I mentioned, I'm not advocating for anyone to lose their job. I never would. You know, at the end of the day, you've got to pay your bills, you've got to help support your family, etc., etc. But this is a fireable offence, because it might have cost AEW, it might have cost, NXT the ratings victory there, and it's a big event, Great American Bash, one of the biggest events that NXT is going to put on this year. Without a doubt, the biggest match NXT is going to put on this year. Arguably the biggest match in NXT history. USA Network, cable network, prime time, Wednesday night. You can get a big victory over AEW, and it possibly has been ruined by a stupid social media post, because we live in the Instagram generation where you've got to get your clicks, you've got to get your likes, and you've got to get your information out first. You've got to seem important that you put it on there. Now, it might be completely innocent. I didn't mean to do it. I wasn't thinking. I was trying to celebrate the moment. I was happy for Keith Lee, etc., etc. Those excuses just aren't going to fly with me. They just weren't, and I don't think they're going to fly with the NXT executives and the WWE executives, and to be honest, the USA Network executives, right? They wanted to get as many live viewers in to watch NXT next week as possible, and that might have hurt it. So you've not only got to explain it to the likes of the people in charge of NXT, the people like Vince McMahon who are going to be saying, what the hell is this jabron doing right now, spoiling the result of arguably one of the biggest matches NXT is going to put on next year. And then you've got the angry executives at USA Network going, who the hell is this guy who is ruining the amount of people that can potentially tune in next week to watch our program on our network live? We pay WWE to put on good programming and to get people watching on our network in primetime positions. We pay WWE very, very handsomely to do this, and you've got one of your own employees spoiling the show and spoiling the results of the show. There are so many people that are going to be angry. Executives in WWE, executives at USA Network, fans included, and even the talent themselves. You've got to think about Keith Lee. This is Keith Lee's biggest moment of his career, the biggest moment of his life, probably, right? He becomes an NXT champion, an NXT North American champion, and it gets ruined by some NXT star in the audience putting it on his story on social media. If I'm Keith Lee, I'm annoyed. If I'm WWE, I'm annoyed. If I'm NXT, I'm annoyed. If I'm the USA Network, I'm annoyed. There are a lot of people that are not going to be happy here, and ultimately it hurts NXT, and it might have just given AEW the victory next week. I don't think it has. I still do think that NXT is going to get the win here next week, but man, it's a massive, massive slip up. You can't even call it a faux pas, can you? Because it's beyond a faux pas. It's that bad. It really is that bad. And just, man, it's tough. And obviously, congratulations to Keith Lee. Like I said, I'll touch on that next week. But man, it's not good. It's not good. What are your opinions on it? What are your opinions on the result of the winner-take-all match between Adam Cole and Keith Lee for the NXT Championship and the NXT North American Championship being spoiled on social media just less than 24 hours after it was taped? Let me know your thoughts, your feelings in the comment section below. What do you think the punishment is going to be? Is he going to get fired? Is he going to get suspended? What is WWE going to do? Are they going to promote the finish? That it's already happened now. We've seen them do that in the past. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings in the comment section below. I really enjoy when you comment on the video, and I'll interact with you as much as I can down there. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now. Along with, if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video for you to watch. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms on the screen right now at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak with you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.